Kashimo Hajime has been foreshadowed to take on Ryomen Sukuna ever since his fight with Akari all the way back in chapter 187. And even with Sukuna taking back and reaching about 20 fingers worth of his original power, and after watching Sukuna take on both Gojo's 200% Hollow Purple and even Gojo's Domain Expansion Unlimited Void, Kashimo is still set on fighting the King of Curses. We know he's saving his curse technique even in deadly situations when he's pushed against the ropes just for Sukuna. But even without a curse technique, Kashimo is still one of the strongest culling game players we've seen yet. During Sukuna's ongoing battle with Satoru Gojo, Kashimo's made it clear to Akari that if Gojo's taken out the fight, he's gonna be the next one to take on Ryomen Sukuna, and Akari shouldn't try to get in his way. But what's Kashimo planning? Does he stand a chance when faced with the King of Curses? And who's actually gonna be the next opponent for Ryomen Sukuna if somehow Gojo's taken out the fight? All that will be explained in this video. If you would enjoy more JJK content like this, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and comment on some video ideas you want to see be done down below. I'm gonna start off with the premise for this fight, and I really want to make it clear, I'm not secretly implying that Sukuna will beat Satoru Gojo, and that's really not what this video is about. Of course, if Gojo does manage to take down Ryomen Sukuna, then there's no need for Kashimo or any other heavy hitter at Jujutsu High to get involved and rush to the battlefield, but there's a few ways the fight could go, which I can see Kashimo having to intervene. The outcome which I see as the most likely way for Kashimo to get involved is if Gojo is somehow defeated by Ryomen Sukuna, but maybe when Sukuna defeats Gojo, his condition isn't exactly the best by the time it comes to take on new opponents. All the way back in chapter 222, Kenjaku began arguing with Urame, and he explains that he plans on leaving for now, but he couldn't before even if he wanted to until today. Kenjaku tells them that even though Gojo's out the prison realm, he's not worried about him or really any other relevant sorcerer for that matter who would ever try to hunt him down. He explains that Gojo's obviously going to be busy fighting Ryomen Sukuna, but the other heavy hitting fighters at Jujutsu High like Maki Zenin, Kinji Akari, and Yuta Akotsu, they're also going to be busy watching the fight because if Gojo does go down, it'll be their only and last opportunity to finally and forever take down the King of Curses. Because even if he does defeat Gojo, it's not like Sukuna's walking away without a scratch. What Kenjaku seems to be implying is that even if Sukuna does defeat Gojo, his condition won't exactly be the best, and it's gonna give them a chance to attack Sukuna. He's definitely gonna need time to recover, but that would be the perfect window to take down the King of Curses. While of course the sorcerers Kenjaku's referring to right here as the ones who will immediately take on Sukuna after this fight are only those from Jujutsu High, I still think there's a pretty good chance that Kashimo will be the first one to take on Sukuna if it ever came down to it. First of all, Kenjaku doesn't know that Kashimo is currently with Jujutsu High, nor is he a part of the school, so of course he's not taking Kashimo into account, and it makes no sense to put him on panel with them as Jujutsu High's heavy hitting fighters anyways. Kashimo is also extremely strong, and Jujutsu High should know that, considering that they have two witnesses right there with him, Panda and Akari. They both found themselves on the verge of death against Kashimo, and Akari especially almost died 3 times, and he lost one of his arms not once, but twice against Kashimo. Akari is also one of the heavy hitting fighters that Kenjaku brings up, and he's debatably stronger than Yuta, who's said to be the leader of these heavy hitting fighters, but I'll talk more about that later. Kashimo also makes it clear to Akari that if Gojo dies, he's gonna be the one to go out next. He's not saying him and Akari are both gonna go out next, he's saying he alone is going out to fight Sukuna and that Akari shouldn't try to stop him. So if I were to put it as simply as possible, if Kashimo is ever gonna fight Sukuna, it's probably gonna be right after this fight with Satoru Gojo, while Sukuna is still recovering, which only gives Kashimo a better chance against the King of Curses. When we compare both of these two fighters, it's best to start with Kashimo's strength first, as he's definitely the underdog when paired up against Ryomen Sukuna. Kashimo makes his first appearance in the manga in chapter 158, but we don't even get to see him fight until chapter 184, where we see him take on Panda and later Kinji Akari in Tokyo Colony 2 of the Culling Games. During both of these fights, the most impressive part to take away from Kashimo's performance is that he chooses not to use his curse technique, and instead, he relies on his high-level manipulation of cursed energy, and most importantly, his cursed energy's trait. Kashimo's control over his cursed energy is on a level that we really never get to see outside of the undeniable strongest in the series. The thing that makes Kashimo's cursed energy trait so special is that it carries an electric touch. This is a really unique byproduct of Kashimo's cursed energy, and we really don't get to see it anywhere else in the entire series except maybe Megami's Nue. Throughout the series, the only cursed energy traits that we see that are kinda similar to this one is Akari's, for example, which carries an edge just like Kashimo's electricity, and Charles says it's rough and it feels like sandpaper, and it's also visibly rigid and sharp when Akari powers up. After Yuji's hit in the face by a couple of Akari's punches, he comments that getting hit by Akari is like getting hit with a serrated bat. All of Kashimo's punches when amplified with his cursed energy leave a shocking blow on his opponent, and and this electrifying property to his cursed energy makes him radiate an electricity, and more importantly, it gives Kashimo this level of durability negation to bypass basic cursed energy reinforcement, allowing him to strike massive damage beyond the surface level of his opponent's durability. While this ability is great, I really don't think it's gonna matter in a battle with Sukuna because of his massive volumes of cursed energy. During his fight with Panda, Kashimo's punches seem to work fine. Panda even goes as far to remark that there's no way to defend against Kashimo's attacks, but Akari on the other hand, he's perfectly immune. This was because Akari was currently being supplied with a massive load of cursed energy by landing a jackpot using his domain expansion Idle Death Gamble, which is way too complicated to explain in this video. Akari's massive volume and output of cursed energy allowed him to defend against Kashimo's cursed energy trait perfectly fine. The main reason why I don't think this strategy is going to be effective against Sukuna is because he also has one of the largest pools of cursed energy in the entire series. Yuta makes it clear that Sukuna has more cursed energy than he does by a minimum 2 times. Keep in mind, Yuta is stated to have boundless cursed energy from his cursed Spirit Rika, which is also the factor that made him originally a special grade back in JJK Volume 0. Even without being linked to Rika in base, Yuta tells Yuji that he must have noticed that he has even more cursed energy than Satoru Gojo himself. Sukuna having this big of a pool of cursed energy makes it pretty unlikely that the shocking effect from Kashimo's punches would have any effect on Sukuna. But I don't think it's fair to count out Kashimo just yet, because his electric trait gives him one of the most powerful non-curse techniques and one of the greatest applications of just raw cursed energy that we see from anybody in the entire series. This move creates a lightning bolt that if Kashimo sets up properly, it'll definitely hit Sukuna. By separating the positive and negative charges in his cursed energy, Kashimo can discharge them onto his opponents during combat. When landing his strikes, Kashimo passes on a positive charge while he retains the negative. While stopping the negative charges accumulated in his body from discharging to the ground, Kashimo can release a lightning bolt which rips through the atmosphere and he can guide through his opponents. Because one of the charges are on his opponent and one of the charges is on Kashimo, it makes this attack a guaranteed hit without the use of domain expansion, meaning assuming Kashimo can set it up, he will definitely hit Sukuna. This lightning strike was able to easily tear through Akari even while in his jackpot mode with the massive volumes of cursed energy that I've mentioned earlier. It's really important to keep in mind that Akari isn't a weak opponent by any means, especially in his jackpot mode. I've mentioned this already, but this mode gives Akari a massive volume of cursed energy, and some translations even call it infinite or unlimited. If Sukuna is not prepared for this, especially while still recovering from a fight with Gojo, this will do damage, but we'll talk more about that later. Aside from talking about just his cursed energy, Kashimo's strength and speed is still insane. Considering Akari's jackpot mode lasts about 4 minutes and 11 seconds each time, and then taking into account that Kashimo survived at least 2 full jackpots, it means that Kashimo's fight with Akari lasted about 8 minutes and 20 seconds. What makes this really impressive is that jackpot Akari is virtually unkillable. That overflowing volume of cursed energy forces Akari's body to perform fully automatic reverse curse technique, and it also means that while losing entire limbs or fighting off toxins while even unconscious, Akari will survive, and it also means that Kashimo literally had no way to take down Akari, but he still ended up surviving for that long, which is crazy because it's not like he ran away either. Throughout the entire fight, Kashimo never backed down. He kept up with Akari and he was able to keep fighting despite taking multiple punches and kicks to the face, and when Akari had re-rolled after his first jackpot mode ended, Kashimo clearly had the upper hand inside of his own domain expansion, countering every single attack Akari threw at him while still landing his own. Overall, Kashimo's a monster. His lightning will definitely be a threat to Sukuna depending on the circumstance, but his basic attacks probably won't do much to the King of Curses, and as it stands, right now, it's pretty clear to everyone that just based on what we've seen, Kashimo is definitely not strong enough to take down Ryoma and Sukuna, and that's for good reason. The thing you really gotta understand is that even though Kashimo is extremely strong, and he shows it throughout all of his fights, Sukuna is simply stronger. Even if we look at Sukuna at just 15 fingers worth of his original power, and that's 5 less fingers worth of power than he has right now, Sukuna is still debatably stronger than Kashimo. He blitzes and slices down Ryu with ease once he stops holding back using his curse technique. This is extremely impressive for Sukuna because this Ryu was contending with Oro and more importantly Yuta, even while he was linked with his cursed Spirit Rika. Yuta's been compared to Akari multiple times throughout the manga and even weekly Shonen Jump guides, and the debate between both of these powerhouses has been spanning across the fandom for quite some time. There are some statements that make it blatantly clear from even Yuta himself that Akari, while on a roll or in his jackpot state, the mode that Kashimo fought him in, would be blatantly stronger than Yuta himself, and there's also other statements that claim that Yuta is the second strongest sorcerer in the modern era, which can include Akari. Both of these statements themselves don't even just stop in the manga, but even extra material from Weekly Shonen Jump, or even a popularity poll in Yuta's case, showcase these exact same statements. Both Yuta and Akari have their own sides and arguments, but that's really not the topic of today's video. For the sake of the video, I'm gonna say that both Yuta and Akari are around the same level, and it's up to you to decide between who for yourself you think is the stronger one out of these two sorcerers, because because either way, it really doesn't matter. If Sukuna's taking down Ryu this easily at only 15 fingers worth of his original power, then he should have no problem cutting down Kashimo at 20 fingers worth of his original power. And that's not even taking into account that Sukuna currently has possession over the 10 Shadows curse technique, along with the other techniques that we know Sukuna has that we haven't fully seen yet. Kashimo's only hope for taking down Sukuna is gonna have to be this hidden curse technique that, as of recording this video, we still don't really know much about it. We know he's saving it for Sukuna and refuses to bring it out otherwise, but that's about it. Whatever this crazy power that Kashimo's holding back is, it's giving Kashimo the confidence to still want to take on Sukuna despite seeing his current battle against Gojo. After being around the group for about a month, Kashimo's definitely figured out that Gojo's the strongest among them, including Akari. Without having some broken curse technique, there's no way Kashimo thinks he can fight Sukuna, knowing that Gojo's stronger than Akari, and seeing Gojo being pushed this far. While I do generally think that Kashimo's lightning strike will do major damage to Sukuna, saying that Kashimo can set it up is a little bit of a stretch. Remember, Kashimo still has to land a few punches to send over a couple of charges in order to create the lightning bolt with its sure hit effect. I'm not gonna lie, I don't see Kashimo landing enough punches to build up a strike like that, especially on Sukuna. And let's not forget, if Kashimo doesn't immediately blow off his head, Sukuna's just gonna start repairing all the damage using reverse curse technique. And if at any point in the fight, Sukuna resorts to using his domain expansion, it's actually game over. A fully expanded Malevolent Shrine can reach about 200 meters, and it's simply too far for Kashimo to outrun. Even when Sukuna shortened the range of Malevolent Shrine against Gojo, he still had trouble reaching the outside of the barrier, and he had to use reverse curse technique at maximum output along with 2 simple domains just to escape. And during that entire encounter, for the most part, Gojo was still continuously getting sliced by Sukuna's domain. It's not like Gojo was just standing there not getting hit, aside from the points where he opened up a simple domain. Gojo was healing using reverse curse technique majority of the time. We don't know if Kashimo can do reverse curse technique, and we've never seen him do it at all, even during his fight with Akari. The only thing that I can think of for Kashimo to do is use his Hollow Wicker Basket, but even assuming he doesn't get blitzed by Sukuna's domain, he still doesn't stand a chance. Hollow Wicker Basket is said to be the prototype of new Shadow style simple domain, and if 2 of Gojo's simple domains were ripped away that easily, I highly doubt Kashimo can do any better. Even if Sukuna himself isn't in a position to take on Kashimo, assuming Mahoraga hasn't already been defeated by Gojo, of course, that's just gonna be another problem for Kashimo. What makes Mahoraga so powerful, even outside of just among Shikigami, is the wheel he carries on his head. As the wheel turns, Mahoraga can grow and adapt to his opponent's techniques, rendering them non-effective against this monster. Mahoraga doesn't just simply adapt to one specific technique, he adapts to the entire genre. We see this best displayed during the Shibuya incident after Sukuna had landed Dismantle on Mahoraga and the wheel in his head began to turn, and suddenly, not only was he able to see the invisible slashing attacks, but he was able to deflect them as well. Sukuna had then opened up his domain expansion to try to take down the Shikigami, but he realized that his other slashing attack Cleave was also ineffective. Back then, Mahoraga had not only had adapted to Dismantle, but he also adapted to Cleave, which means he was adapting to slashing attacks in general, not just those 2 specific techniques. The only way to exercise Mahoraga is by destroying him before he can fully adapt to whatever you're about to throw at him. As of recording this video, Kashimo hasn't shown any attacks with enough destructive capacity, which we can say for sure would exercise Mahoraga. Even if we say the lightning strike is powerful enough to blow Mahoraga to ashes before he can adapt, it's debatable if Kashimo could ever set up an attack like that on this Shikigami. By the time Mahoraga is hit with the regular electrification factor from Kashimo's basic punches, the Shikigami might just adapt to lightning or electricity based attacks in general, similar to how he adapted to Sukuna's slashing attacks all the way back in Shibuya. The only possible ways I see Kashimo winning this fight is if 1, his curse technique is just insanely overpowered and it's able to amplify his strength massively and beyond anything we've seen Kashimo do so far, which would explain why he remains so confident despite the ongoing battle. Or 2, Sukuna is just so weak after his battle with Gojo that Kashimo can take advantage of the situation and gain the upper hand against the King of Curses, but of course that depends on how bad Sukuna's condition is at the time. Otherwise, Kashimo is sadly not surviving a battle with the King of Curses.